21mm socket, remove all 6 of your lug nuts, and then take the wheel off. I'm going to remove the cotter pin, and if yours is very rusty, then you might have to just cut it. There we go. And now with your 19mm socket, remove this castle nut. And looks like my tie rod came out of the knuckle right away, but if not, what you would want to do is take your hammer right here on the edge of the knuckle, and that should break the tie rod free from the knuckle. But again, in my case, this popped off, so that's perfect. Now that that's off, just install the nut on here, a couple threads to hold it, and now let's break the jam nut free. To break the jam nut free, I'm going to use a 22mm wrench. These can be on here pretty tight, so some rust penetrant and heat can help. Now that this is broken free, let's continue by removing the outer tie rod completely. So the way I want to do this is count the amount of turns that it takes to take this off, so that when you reinstall, you can put it on the same amount of turns and it'll match up almost the same. It's not going to get you a perfect alignment this way. You still need a professional alignment, but this will get you as close as possible. Okay, so I had about 14.5 turns. I'll remember that when I put the new one on. Before I drive my nut on here, the jam nut, I'm going to put some anti-seize on the threads. That way the outer tie rod and the nut won't seize up in the future. Now when you put on the outer tie rod, you want to put it on the same amount of turns that you counted to take it off. So for me it was about 14.5 turns, so that's how much I'm going to count to put it on. Okay, so 14.5 gets me to the tie rod being upside down, so I'm just going to go 15, leave it at this, and now let's start this into the knuckle. Perfect. Put on your castle nut, and let's bottom this out, make it nice and tight. The new size is a 21mm. Okay, now that it's bottomed out, let's torque it. Torque this to 67 foot-pounds. And now you want to look at the little castle slots in the castle nut. You want to make sure it lines up with the hole for the cotter pin. If it does not, like mine doesn't, you want to always tighten, not loosen, to make it line up. So I'll go over to the nearest slot, which is right there. Put in my cotter pin and bend it over to lock it in. Perfect. Last thing to do is to lock this on. Make sure that's nice and snug, and then once you're done, move it back so that the tie rod isn't sitting at an angle. You want to make sure it's basically parallel with the knuckle. Go ahead and reinstall the wheel. Start on all 6 of your lug nuts, bottom them out, and then torque them to 83 foot-pounds. .83 foot-pounds. All right.